All right, everybody, welcome today. This is going to be an awesome conversation here. I've got my buddy here, John Gormley, the CEO of Main Street Realtors. John, how are you? Thanks for joining.
Doug, doing great.
Okay? Yeah, cool.
Absolutely. How are you doing?
Doing terrific. It's chilly where I am. It's raining here in St. Louis. How's the weather in Chicago?
It's been snowing. It was coming down pretty heavy earlier, but now it's abated a little bit. But it's snowing here in Chicagoland.
Well, one of the things I've always enjoyed about our friendship, right, and our working relationship too, is that you're always see a new idea, and when you see how it kind of makes sense from the inside out, you're always one of the first to adopt, right? And I want you to share with me kind of this transformation that you've put together to empower Main Street Realtors with all these different new communication tools. So what's been going on over there that everybody's been dying to find out?
Well, Doug, at the start of the coronavirus pandemic last March, we were like everyone else, every other organization, and certainly in the realtor family, trying to transition quickly to online and virtual learning experiences for our members. And luckily at Main Street, we had already adopted the Zoom platform, and we're pretty adept at that. And that really traced back to you, Doug, and some work that we did together down at Texas Association of Realtors a few years ago. And I do credit you for a lot of that. But we already were on the Zoom platform, and we made that pivot pretty easily. After several months, though, Zoom fatigue sets in, and we realized we're going to need to up our game because everyone's made that transition to Zoom. So how can we take it a step further to differentiate ourselves and have a richer experience for our members? And you helped us do that, Doug. We spent pretty much last summer you teaching our team how to pull that off, and it's worked again.
Well, it's cool. So, it's like we only have so much like space, real estate that we have, this little square that we have. And I think a lot of us are limit ourselves in the capabilities because it's just basically what's in our background. What people see behind us is what the experience is like. But no, we're taking a look at multiple use cases, right? Not just presentations, not just meetings. So what I'm really curious about is it's not just your one way you're using this, right? What are some of the ways that you're finding are being most successful with your members?
Well, we've used it for a lot of things, certainly education and networking events, including continuing education, some designation courses we've transitioned over into the Zoom platform. We offered a CIAPS course in April, actually, with another association, with the Raleigh Regional Association in Raleigh, North Carolina. And we had Main Street members, Raleigh members, and also people from around the globe, including Ireland and India, who participated in that. So that was cool. And we do other things. Our strategic planning retreat, we did it totally via Zoom this past August. And we used the enhanced Zoom platform, Doug, that you helped us build. And that was successful. We're about to do our Main Street Leadership Academy, which is a signature event that we have every year. It's to cultivate aspiring leaders. We're going to do that via we call it the Zoom-tastic interface here at Main Street that you helped us create. So we've done a lot of different things with it, and it's worked well.
It's interesting too, because I think a lot of when it comes down to creating this new experience, I think people think, well, that I can't do that because it's going to cost too much, right? There's too much equipment that's involved. I've got to train all my people on how to do this. But what was so awesome to see is that your team took the bull by the horns, and really like owned it, right? Really owned it in kind of their own way. So I'm wondering, like, before, right? Or maybe this is compared to how everybody else is doing this now. What would you say the experience has been like for participants after you've put together this environment for them? What's the feedback been like?
Well, the feedback's been great. I mean, some of the features that we do with our Zoom-tastic interface is we have countdowns before the events start, and on break, when we're coming off a break, we have the visual countdowns. There's music There's moving graphics and video. We've incorporated trivia, association trivia in there. Standard Zoom, you can do the polling and you can do a few things, but it's not really that interactive. So it just keeps things visually interesting and moving, and it keeps a level of excitement, it sets a really positive tone for our members who are interacting with us through the Zoomtastic interface.
Oh, gosh, and you have to wonder, with how many hours do you think the average member is spending on Zoom right now?
Well, yeah, that's a big factor, right? The Zoom fatigue that we alluded to earlier, and that's why, in my view, you can't be like everybody else. Just a plain vanilla Zoom meeting just won't cut it anymore, and that's why we made this investment, and it's been a good thing. It's some companies, if you're an association executive like me or a CEO, you can sign a big fat contract with a provider, with an education company, and they'll give you a similar experience, but that comes at a high cost, and you're sort of married to them for the term of that contract. And it's hard to be creative or add something on the fly without having to go through them. So the difference for us has been having Doug, you teach our team here that's on staff how to do it. And I think of the old parable, you can fish for somebody and give them that fish, or you can teach them how to fish. And you taught our team how to fish, and it's made us nimble and quick, and we've been able to do a lot of things with it.
Well, sure. Thanks, John. And I think when in comparison, there's all these tools, right? There's all these different technologies that are out there. But really what I admire what you've done so well is it's not so much the technology, but it's the message that you're able to craft, right? I don't know if this came from your previous background, right? But man, like when you get on camera, when you get on video, it's spot on. So I know that your group works a lot with Toastmasters, or you guys have a Toastmasters club that helps your members improve the messaging. Now that you've added this media, it seems to me like you've created an engine, right? An ongoing engine that's going to last long after this pandemic is over.
Well, it's very kind of you to say, Doug. I certainly hope so. It can be more challenging to capture a feel, the warmth that we want to portray within Main Street as part of our culture, which is a welcoming culture, and we try to have diversity. Anyone who wants to find a home at Main Street is welcome. We want to portray that. It could be more difficult to portray that in a virtual world versus having in-person meetings and events. But this definitely helps to portray that warm feel that we like, and the culture we try to extend at Main Street. And this has helped us do that, definitely.
What's the turnout been like, right? So like compared to what it was in the past, or I know it's hard to compare what it was like in the past because March of last year, everything kind of changed for different, but what's the turnout been like from people joining the virtual education from their homes or their cars or wherever they might be?
Yeah, that's definitely a good question and a concern, I think, for folks who are relying on the virtual way of delivering things and having offerings. We've been really fortunate. We've had some really large 150, 200 people in these Zoomtastic webinars and offerings, and it's continuing, right? You think it's going to trail off. The longer the pandemic goes, you think the Zoom fatigue is going to set in and trail off. But just last week, we had a webinar called Crossing the Border, How to Be a Dual State Agent, and we partnered with a local association on the Indiana side. And we had members from both associations talking about how they got dual licensing or how they do referrals, the differences in the market. We had 160 people on that webinar.
Wow.
To finish. We had, because we offered it free, which we seldom do, but for some things we offer free still. We had 200 something sign up, but 160 were actively participating the whole time. And it lasted about an hour and 20 minutes, so almost an hour and a half. And they stayed engaged with it.
Wow.
So that's a good example right there. And that was just a week ago.
It seems to me like we have this competition today, between It's us or Netflix, right? It's us or Amazon Prime. It's us versus Showtime, because really these are digital experiences. And whether you're paying for them or not, it's still someone's attention, and it's hard to put a price on that, right?
Yeah, it
To be
definitely
able to
is.
maintain loyalty when attention is so scarce. What are some of the things that, let's say, you're probably most excited about, as you have been the leader on this all these years, that you're most excited about moving forward in 2021?
Well, I'm excited about trying to continue to innovate and serve our members and try to stay ahead of that curve as much as we can. I want to continue to build on the successes we've had at Main Street, and those go back a number of years. I want to continue to forge a unique value proposition and fine tune that identity that we have, and certainly the Zoomtastic experience has helped a lot. I want to be known as Main Street offers the best content, the best experiential platform, the best experience virtually, and the most fun organization around. And you're right, we do have to be more like the Netflixes. We can't be the same old your grandparents association, right? Because we will be irrelevant if we do that.
I don't know. I try to throw the best wah wah wah, right, that I can in here, because this has to be fun, right? I can't tell you how many, just starting a conversation with a big round of applause, what that means to somebody. And I know that you'll continue to look for ways to, um, uh, dig in deeper. Before we jump off here, you had mentioned something about the cost and working with vendors, right? Um, Gosh, I don't really sell stuff. I sell the results of the outcomes they're using some of these tools. And I know that being tied to a vendor or a long-term contract is a big concern. Um, what do you see in the benefits of having the freedom and flexibility to kind of operate on your own? We didn't really get into the detail of that. If you don't mind just sharing the benefits of kind of having the freedom.
Well, there's a lot of freedom there because we have a very creative team at Main Street, creative staff and creative volunteer leaders, and they come up with ideas and we can act on them quickly. We don't have to go through a company and try to get fit into their schedule and their template to load, the titling and the graphics and everything into their system, because we can do it ourselves. And it allows for the ultimate in creativity and flexibility. And I've long, as you know, I've long been a proponent and invested heavily in creativity. I think it's important for organizations to have that and harness it in order to continue to be relevant and successful. So it's made a big difference for us. For us, I can't imagine any other way. I wouldn't have done it any other way. But and that's a good point for you, Doug, is that you don't sell out of the box solutions. You work with your clients to get custom solutions that work for the client. And that certainly happened here, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's just exciting to see when an organization can harness their own creativity and then own it, right? Because what works for me isn't going to work for you, right? Or maybe another broker down the street, right? You gotta kind of own it. It's just so exciting to see that you've done that. Any final tips or maybe warnings that you can give someone if they're just kind of watching this for the first time, if they really want to take a leap of faith into this new way of showing up inside of the camera?
Well, certainly keep an open mind. Think about the type of staff team you might have that could work on this, and don't think in terms of traditional departments necessarily. I would recommend a cross-functional team in some cases, and folks that wanna learn. You might need some technical expertise, some graphics expertise, in order to implement it, but it's certainly very doable. And it's in terms of the hardware and software you need, it doesn't cost that much at all. It's things that you can get off of Amazon with Doug's help, though, because I think you do need to go through the process with Doug Because Doug, you're the innovator on this stuff, and you have been for a while. Like Main Street hopes to do, you keep upping your game constantly, and that's worth a lot.
Yeah, thanks. We're all in this together. We have to push each other to and hold each other accountable, right? Because I think at the end of the day, it's it's our customer, it's our member, it's what they want, how they want it, when they want it, how often as they can get it, they'll take it, right?
Well, I mean, if you have another minute, I'll tell you a funny story. When
Yeah.
we started working on this last summer with you, and we're thinking about who on the staff will be on the cross-functional team to work with you to put all this together and kind of figure it out. We had people who wanted in, and it's sort of this thing where we codenamed the whole project Zoom on steroids.
Yeah.
But as we got, and I think that was my fault, and as we got toward the end of it, one of the staff members, Kate Sachs, who's VP of all things cool at Main Street and head of education and a lot of cool things, she said, we can't call it Zoom on steroids. That is an old fuddy-duddy term. She said, let's call it Zoom-tastic.
Yeah, I love it.
She said,
I love it.
jazz hands, let's call it Zoom-tastic. And that's what we internally we call it now. But that's the story, how that came about.
Yeah, what's so cool, because I know you're gonna take this and you're gonna find other ways to be able to innovate on top of it, and I'm just so glad that we continue to be able to find new ways to work with one another. So thank you, John.
Well, same here. Thank you, Doug. Really appreciate all your help.